Hello, everyone. It's that time of day again. It's story time. I got my frumpy reading sweater on. So, let's see what we got. What do we got to drink today? I got a nice cup of coffee. Okay, now we need a story. Tell you what, today I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story about my three friends, Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry. Now, these three guys are a worm, okay? They're three worms, and they live out back. Now, Squiggly and Wiggly are regular worms. Jonathan Thomas Henry is a regular worm too, but he's a bit strange. He wears a fedora and carries around his worm scout knapsack with him everywhere. And so these three guys are three good friends. So I'm going to tell you a story today about Squiggly, Wiggly, Jonathan Thomas Henry, and Orville. Now, as I said, Jonathan Thomas Henry was a worm scout. Actually, Squiggly and Wiggly are worm scouts too, and they go to scout meetings every Monday. And every Monday, Squiggly's father would pick up the three worms, would pick up Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry and take them to the scout meeting, the worm scout meeting. Well, Jonathan Thomas Henry lived down the street a bit and around the corner, and so he would get picked up on the corner. And he didn't want to be late, and he didn't want them having to wait for him, so he would rush out there early every Monday evening, and he'd sit on the mailbox out there, just waiting for Squiggly's father to come and get them. Well, in the evening, the first star that Jonathan Thomas Henry saw every night was very bright, and it was up in the sky. And he thought, oh, this is marvelous. There's my friend up there. And after a while, Jonathan Thomas Henry started calling that star, that bright light up in the sky, Orville, because he didn't know the name of the star, and he thought he should name it, so he named it Orville. Well, this week, when Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry went to Worm Scouts, there was a gentleman there to tell them all about the stars and the constellations and all the proper names and things like that. And they learned about the Big Dipper. And the Big Dipper had several names. One of them was Ursa Major, which basically meant the Big Bear. And one of them was Charles's Wagon, which was very strange. It came from German, where Charles had a wagon and whatever. And one of them was the Wagon. And another one was called the Plow. And it all depended on where you lived. Some people lived in Europe, some people lived in North America, some people lived over in Russia, and they all had different names for the same constellations. So there was the Big Dipper, and there was the Little Dipper, and there was Cassiopeia, and Cassiopeia used to be a queen, and she's up there now, and it sort of looks like a W in the sky. But Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry were learning all these names. And then one day, while this guy was telling them all about the stars and the lights in the sky, Jonathan Thomas Henry wanted to know what was the name of that bright star he saw in the sky. Well, this gentleman said, well, that could be the North Star, or which is also called Polaris, or it's probably just a planet called Venus. Because Venus is very bright in the early evening sky, and you can actually see it there, and it looks like a star, but it's just a planet reflecting the light from the sun. Well, Jonathan Thomas Henry thought about that. And he thought, that's not really right. Because that's his friend. He sits on the mailbox every Monday evening waiting for Squiggly's father to come and get him. And his friend comes up in the sky. It's sort of rude to say, excuse me, to say, ha, you're Venus, or you're the North Star, or you're whatever. He said, no, that's Orville. And he chatted with Squiggly and Wiggly, and they decided that since the Big Dipper can have so many different names, and the Little Dipper can have many different names, and Cassiopeia can be the W or the lady in the chair, and she has many names, and Orion can be the hunter or whatever. that they would just keep calling that bright light, the first light in the sky on a Monday evening, Orville. And from then on, Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry always looked up in the sky just as it was getting twilight, just as evening was coming. And they would say, "Hello, Orville." And then all the other stars would come out and be bright and sparkly. But they knew Orville was their friend. Now, this was all good and well and things like that. And they had a friend now named Orville up in the sky. Jonathan Thomas Henry had one more problem. His problem was the moon. Jupiter had a bunch of moons and they had names. And Mars had a couple moons and they had names. And Saturn had some moons and they had names. But Earth's moon was just called Moon. Jonathan Thomas Henry thought he would have to think about that. But that's a time for another story. The end. Squiggly, Wiggly, and Jonathan Thomas Henry. The end of the story. I hope you liked that story. I hope you have a great day. Now you take care of one another. You take care of yourself. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay? Bye now.